Hello, everyone, and welcome back to what seems like the never-ending Walter Dividing Head project. This is going to be episode 5. We're trying to get the six-jaw buck chuck cleaned up. Thought it would be a simple disassembly, clean, reassembly, put it back on the dividing head, adjust for the run out, and done. Well, we ran into a problem. So, a couple problems. So anyways, take a look, follow along, and apologies again for this thing running so long. We're going to end up with episode 6 in order to fix the problem that we found. Okay, thanks guys, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey everyone. So we're getting ready to clean up this little six-jaw buck chuck here as a continuation of our Walter Dividing Head cleanup. And I don't know if you remember, but earlier I had mentioned that we needed to make a new chuck key. I mean, you want to see that is pretty bad. And then check this one. It's just as bad. So these didn't come with the chuck or the dividing head. These were ones that I just had in my scrap box. So I've already tapped the handles out of them, and I've cleaned up all the burrs and chowder marks and all that. So this one here, by the time we cut a little shank on the end and then recut the flutes, it's going to be pretty short. So I've got a piece of 5/8 stainless here. So I think we'll make a new one to replace that one. We'll just reuse the cross handle. But this one here still has enough shank on it that we can go in and recut the flats and should be fine. And then I have this one also. I had to clean this one up a bit too. This is an internal or a female 1/4 inch. These are all 1/4 inch, by the way. And I did cut a little piece of key stock that we can stick in here, and we could use that. But what fun would that be when we can make a couple new ones? All right, so let me get a few things gathered up here, and I'll meet you back either at the lathe or the mill. I'm not sure yet, but one of them. Okay, so we just finished making our, this is the replacement chuck wrench, and we made it out of 3/16 stainless. And this one came out great. I'm really happy with it. However, the other one here, we tried to reuse the existing shank, reduced diameter shank. It was quite a bit longer, and we thought we'd have enough material here that it would be usable. And it is usable. I mean, it'll work. But it'd be nice if it was just a smidge longer. So I think we're going to just go ahead and do some more on this one. Turn this down a little bit and recut our flats just to do it right, even though it's just a spare. But yeah, knowing that we can do better. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the redo of the redo. I've got the camera mounted in a different spot here. Hopefully it's not going to be too much vibration or noise. I got the mag base right on top of the quick change gearbox. So if you're hearing music, well, you wouldn't be hearing me if you're hearing music, but if you're hearing music, you know it was too much noise. All right, so let's turn this shank down a little bit. Get in there and touch off. just feeding by hand. Okay, let's get a measurement. Blow that off. Earbuds. This is not a critical dimension. Okay, we got 30 thousandths to go. What do you say we live dangerously and take it all in one pass? So we're going to take 15. And we don't need a whole lot. Because our flats are okay, so we just need to extend it a little bit. So we're not going to go too far. And I'm just going to feed by hand again. Cut on the way out. All right, earbuds. Let's see if we hit our number. Half a thousandths. And what I did, I just zeroed the calipers at our target number. Okay. Let's face that off a little bit. So we're going to go over to the mill. The challenge is going to be picking up our geometry here. So we'll meet you guys over there.
160. Shoot, right there. Walk our line. Quick bozo check. Go right. Yeah, that's good.
You know what? We're going to try it. See if it fits the chuck. And always put it back in. Just did a test fit. It's fine. There's so much wear on the on that chuck. that being a hair over doesn't hurt a thing. Actually, it's better. Okay, that's it for the redo of the redo. So, looks a little more presentable now and a little more usable. This one is still much nicer, but okay, moving on. Time to clean up and evaluate this 6-jaw. So, all the jaws are numbered. Already verified that. The locations are numbered. So, let's get busy. Start by cranking these jaws out. Yes. I think that was the first one we tried right there. All right. I'm going to probably put this in the vise. Okay, we got that stubborn one broke loose. Let's go ahead and pull them all out. Well, it looks like they had plenty of oil on them. Nasty stuff. Oh yeah. Has that lovely rotten cutting oil aroma. Probably gonna have to put a couple of those back in to help tap this off. Give it a couple of. Oh, forgetting something important here. This is a just the true, so we got to back those. Adjusting grub screws up. Oh man. All right, back to the vise. Okay. I think Bubba was the last one to tighten these up again. We just can't get rid of that guy. Yeah, these are way tighter than they need to be. So these grub screws do nothing to hold, well, I mean they will, but they're not intended to be the fastener that holds the back plate on. It's only for adjusting the run out. There's no reason to tighten them that tight. Okay. See where these shims are. Okay, right there. Okay, that was like that. And this one. You get a photo where those were. Not that we're going to put them back in or anything, but at least we'll have it documented. And let me grab a mic and see what thicknesses those are. Okay, let's start with this one. Clean it off. So I go 3.5. It's probably a 3. There's dirt. Didn't get it all clean. Okay, so that's a 3. There it is. Okay, well, I didn't like finding those shims in there, but let's keep going.
Kind of finished just in time. Started pouring.
Yeah.
Changed the oil.
Well, of course, I just backed out my truck and
Well, at least that water doesn't spot it like the house water does.
yeah.
Hey,
Doesn't look too bad. Okay. Pinion gear. Nice deposit of rust down in here. Or dried grease. Combination dried grease, rust. Nice. All right, well, I'm gonna start cleaning this up. Not sure if we're gonna use the crock pot method or just some solvent. Do a test clean and see how it starts, how it looks. We got the little Buck Chuck emblem out of there, although we had a minor mishap. I was tapping the rivet back and forth to loosen it up, and the last tap it sheared off, and of course we put a gouge in, so maybe I'll be able to touch that up with a little bit of blue paint. But anyways, we got it off, so that was good. And the rivet is still in there. I'll just drill it out once we get it all cleaned up, and we'll just put a brand new rivet in. Okay, we got everything loaded into the poor man's hot tank, otherwise known as a crock pot. And we've got our purple degreaser. So we'll fill about halfway with purple degreaser, and then enough water to cover the parts with maybe another extra ½ inch and let it cook. We got everything out of the crock pot and everything cleaned up nicely. We've been doing a little bit of evaluating. So remember we had these mystery shims that were between the chuck body and the back plate. Well, you can see I been doing some checking here. I've stoned everything, deburred everything. All I got is this little tiny back or surface plate. So I blued it up, and here's our result. This is the back half of the chuck, and you can see we've got a minor problem here. So I think this here is the culprit, because we're getting much more contact on this side. This is the actual back plate, mounting plate, and it's really hard to get a good transfer because I would need a surface plate with a hole in it, so I can only do one edge at a time. So I'm going to work on this one, and I know should bolt these together, and this one is really hard to do any kind of bluing on because of the step we have. I did check this one. It's got a couple spots here. I was trying to figure out if it corresponded to where that chip was, if that distorted it in any manner. But I think what I'll do, since this is so far out, I think I'm going to do a little bit of scraping on this one first and see if I can improve it a bit. And then somewhere along the line here, I want to probably either stone a little bit more or maybe just do a light scrape where these contact points are. And then bolt our two halves together just to, make sure that we don't have any distortion, assembled versus disassembled. And then probably glue this up again and see how we look. Okay, so I did a little bit of light scraping, re-stoned it, re-blued everything, and this side stayed about the same, but we picked up another high spot over here, so I'm going to continue to work on this side. We'll see how we do here. My scraping experience is strictly from what I've learned watching the rest of you guys on YouTube, so this is not something that I've got a lot of experience with, or the proper tooling either, so just making do with what I got. Okay, we're heading the right direction. Here's my poor man's scraping tools made out of old files. So let me do a little more work on this and bring you right back. Okay, so we switched over. We're working on the chuck body now, and I think we're real good. I'm going to blue this up and see how it looks. We're not going for a full scrape job here, guys. We're just trying to improve the fit here is all. Okay, so we've got fair contact here all the way around. Just working on a better fit than what we had. So I'm going to bolt the two halves of the chuck together here, and then we're going to continue on the back plate surface. We got the two halves of our chuck body bolted together, and we just did a test blue again. It's not too bad. It's a lot better than what it was. We're getting more contact around the circumference. I'm going to work on this a little bit more, see if we can improve it a bit. Okay, I hope Richard King isn't watching. But anyways, like I mentioned before, we're just trying to improve the fit. We're not going for a full scrape job here. So I think I'm going to stop with this and on the risk of making it worse than it was before. I'm gonna glue this side up and then bring the back plate over and check our contact pattern with the back plate. We got the back of the chuck glued up. We got our back plate cleaned off. So let me, off camera, let me put these together and see what our contact pattern looks like. All right, so here's what we ended up with. Not real bad. We'll work on it a little bit, see if we can improve it a little, but guys, I think we're gonna call this good. It's probably overkill already, but it would take me probably several more hours to get it much better, and probably not necessary. Plus, I've got a Super Bowl party to go to at my daughter's house, so I'm going to need probably the next hour just to get this blue stuff off my hands and everything else. So, all right, we'll pick this back up probably tomorrow, and we're just going to finish shining up our parts here and get this thing reassembled. Okay, I know what you're thinking, guys. Why didn't I just put this in the lathe, chuck it up, and just take a face cut and clean these guys up for a better fit? Well, honestly, I didn't check it, but I assumed that by the time I flipped the chuck jaws over, the amount of stick out I would have would exceed the swing of my lathe. So, of course, after getting everything done, I went over and checked, and I would have had 1/4 of an inch of clearance, so we could have done it that way. But anyways, it was fun, you know, messing around with the scraping. Need to get more experience at that anyways. And this one would have been tricky because if anything we remove from this surface, we'd have to remove the same amount here, and then we'd possibly affect the clearance for the scroll, and you know, there's a lot of variables there, so probably wouldn't have done it on that surface, but could have done these two without affecting any clearance issues. Okay, we're going to put this thing together. Okay, we're going to put our little emblem back on. Had to do a little tiny touch up on the paint. Okay, make sure it's straight. Got a brand new drive screw. Okay. Okay, I know you guys have seen plenty of these chucks go together, so we're gonna do this on high speed. Okay guys, check this out. I guess every once in a while you get lucky. All I did was put it up here with our alignment keys and made sure it was pushed to one side toward the back and tightened down our hold down bolts, and man. So I got our mag base on the column, but still should give us a true reading. So the mag base is just stuck to the column over here. And let's prove that and we've got some wind up, so it's a real reading. And when you first when you first see that it's perfect, you assume that something's wrong. So what the heck? So, all right. Okay, we've been experimenting with tightening up our 3 mounting bolts for the chuck spindle mount, and trying and checking our run out as we go, and it's pretty solid. It doesn't really change much, just a tiny bit. I had to go back and loosen and retighten the side that had the highest reading. So let's take a look. This is a 1/2 thousandths indicator. There's one spot, let me see if I can stop there, right there. And I think that's just a defect on the back plate, because it's only in about maybe a 1/2 inch wide section. So I'm really happy with that. It looks great. If we discount that one odd spot there, that's a 1/2 thousandths. Okay. All right. Now let me change our setup, and we've got to get our check the run out on the chuck body. Okay, I almost forgot. One of the viewers wanted to know how much travel or how much the spindle shifted when we put the brake on. So right now we're freewheel. And if I try to move this in and out, there's almost no end play. Maybe a 1/4 of a tenth, something like that. Not a 1/4 of a tenth, 1/4 of a thousandth. Okay, and when the brake goes on, it pulls the spindle that way. So I'm pulling it toward me, and let's put the brake on. So what was that, 1/2 thousandths? Pulling it back. Let's call it a 1/2 thousandth. So not very much. Okay. Okay, I've been working on getting our chuck running true. And we just started on the outside of the chuck body, which is it's easier to work out here just to get started, and then we'll change our setup, and we'll indicate off this shaft over here. All right, so we're pretty close. So what we're using, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, it's a 9/16 precision drill blank. And I was checking as I'm tightening here, I'm wiggling, And there's no bell mouth at all on these jaws. They feel really good. Okay, hopefully you guys can see both of these. A little challenge getting a good camera angle and enough light over here. So we've got the small indicator reading the back side of our mounting plate, and then we've got this one reading our run out on the chuck body. So let's see what we got. And that looks like our high spot right there. Maybe 1.5. Reset our 0. There's some dings on the outside of this chuck, so I think that 2 that we saw was one of the dings. Okay, and then the back side, our indicator there, we're within 1,000th. Okay, now let me move this one. See if we can get right here. I think we're on a defect there. Reset this. Yeah, it looks like our low right there. And I think that's just a defect, yeah. Okay, so there's our high right there. And that's right by the number 5 jaw. If I bring that up to where this one is, that looks like the low. Go opposite. Okay, and that's our high going this way. So they seem to correspond. Okay, so I mean it's not real bad. We have a little more that, a little bit that we're out. We'll call it 2,000ths. Okay. All right, let me change the setup and we're going to go on our shaft that we have in the chuck. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that and we're in focus. So we've got a piece of drill blank in the chuck and it fits really nice. So let's see what we've got. Not good. That's about 8.5, let's call it 9,000ths. And it's lining up with the number 2 jaw, which is directly across from the number 5 jaw where we saw the high reading before. So that's actually the opposite direction. Okay, now let me get out toward the end of this rod. Probably going to have to reposition the camera. Okay, let's set our 0. And set our 0 again. Looks like about, let's call it 16. 16. And we're lined up with the number 2 jaw again. So we've got an angularity problem here. I'm thinking that somebody reground these jaws and did not do it right. I'm going to try a different piece of shafting just to see if it changes with a different diameter. So let me do that. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. So I found a piece of 1-inch chrome shafting, and I checked it on the surface plate to make sure it was straight. So let's see what we got. We're re-zeroed here. And that looks like about 11. So about 11. So it's running a little different with a larger shaft, but not, you know, not real bad. Okay, let me move out to the end here. Let me move you guys back a little bit. And let's re-zero. Okay, let's try that. About 16, maybe 17. Oh yeah, let's redo our 0. About 18. So a little different than the than that piece of drill rod we had in here, or drill blank. But I'm not sure that we're on the exact same spots. I should have measured, but I didn't. Okay, so that's pretty good for consistency anyways. All right, well, we're gonna call this the end of part 5. And in part 6, we're gonna see what we can do to save this chuck. I mean, it's a nice buck, 6-jaw chuck. It has been abused a bit. I don't think there's much wear on the body. I mean, it's just been used in a dividing head. It's not like it's been on a lathe. So I think it's worth the effort to try to save it. I got to figure out if I have the right setup to possibly regrind these jaws. Okay, guys. Well, thanks a lot for sticking with these super long episodes. And hopefully we can wrap this up in episode 6. All right, everybody, take care.